Welcome to the Pasho Perspective, a place where I share my perspective on everything in the space between life and death. I am your host, Pasho. Well, my Pachos Chachos, we have finally made it to the end of the school year and thus the end of Season 1. I'll be beginning next week, Season 2, where I'll call it the summer episodes, and we'll just talk about little musings here and there. But I thought for the end of this season that perhaps we should talk about the response to the 7 deadly sins that we spoke of a few weeks ago, and talk about the 7 virtues. Because there is an answer to all the wicked and evil that exists out there that we discussed earlier. So in regards to lust, the antagonist of lust would be chastity. Instead of considering yourself an overly sexualized child, instead of being an 8 or 10-year-old who constantly takes TikTok videos of yourself dancing so that older perverts can validate your beauty and do terrible, terrible things that we won't even discuss in this episode, but really dirty, raunchy, disgusting things, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to lust for, and it's not a good thing to be lust over. That is a base, vile character of our species. Instead, chastity is the answer. And I recall some time ago sitting in Champaign-Urbana at a haircuttery, waiting for my turn to get styled, and I picked up one of the magazines they had there, most likely Cosmopolitan, because I always wanted to know what were the girls learning, and thus what should I know that they know to impress them. But anyway, that's a different subject. So I was reading one of these articles that mentioned that people are actually happier when they have fewer partners. When you have more partners, you have more things to compare who you're with presently with. And, sometimes the bar is set high by some people who are very open about their sexuality. And sometimes, the bar is maybe low, but, and it's not fair to the person that you're with to have the same expectations that you would with the other people. Some people might be more open, pun intended, to other things than your, regular whatevers. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic here, but it's better. And the article was very convincing. The fewer partners you have, the fewer expectations, the fewer things you have to compare it with. So the fewer disappointment that you'll have. It won't be it wasn't as, you fill in the blank because I don't want to get, perverted here in this episode, or it didn't last as long, or, didn't do certain things, touch certain places, and it's not fair to that person, because what if it's new for them, and how do they know, and it should really be about the experience. It should be about the sharing and the relationship that you have reached that level, that you are finally being, the most intimate that you could really be. And so having a little chastity, valuing yourself a little bit, instead of thinking that, I need to go out and, hunt down the prey, recognize too that you are the prey and deserve to be hunted down. Recognize too that you're not just looking for a trophy, but you as well are a trophy that will be sitting on someone else's mantle. And so treat yourself as such. You're valuable. The more you give yourself away, the less valuable you become. And trust me, I'll probably talk about it in a different episode when I feel even more open with you guys, but I've been there. I've done that, and it's a hollow existence. And all I can say is thank God for my wife. The response then to gluttony, of overeating, overindulging, too many material things, too much decadence, the solution then is temperance. Being able to show self-restraint, to recognize that I don't have to get it now. I can get it later when finances are actually better and there isn't a crazy inflation going on. But it's also self-restraint when it comes to, again, talking about lust, those desires. Fine, you're going to have those desires and that's part of the human experience, but temper yourself so that you are not cheapening yourself And so that you're not building so many expectations that it's only going to lead to disappointment later down the road. And so consider that. All right, then we're going to talk about greed. All right, greed of wanting more and more. The solution then is charity. Instead of taking, give away. As it says in the good book, when you give, my Father gives 10 times fold. And honestly, you call it karma, call it whatever you want, although I know it's my Father's will. It's always a beautiful thing. The more you give, even Shakespeare quoted it in Juliet, Romeo and Juliet, the more you shall receive. The more love she gave to him, the more love she then had. And you'll see, when it comes to your friends, when you give them time, when you give them an ear, instead of taking their time and taking their ear, and remember, it's not always about you. You'll see that your relationships, I think, will build a lot more there. So be charitable. Be charitable if you have children with your time. That is the most important resource that we have. Don't waste it doing video games or wasting it on, needless things. Make sure that you are always investing in the most important thing, which should be your family. In regards to sloth and laziness, obviously the response would be diligence, which is something our country is suffering from. But I believe that there is hope. Based on my last class, they want to work hard. They want to be challenged. And when given that opportunity, they shine. And you know what? When you give them that opportunity for them to shine, you're also giving them something that they can accomplish, a task that can be achieved, which will build their confidence and give them courage to try to risk other things so that they can win even more rewards. And so, work hard. And as a teacher, don't forget the golden rule that your students should always work harder than you do. And trust me, this year I took that at liberty. In response to envy and jealousy, have kindness. It's just something we talked about with Jordan Peterson. I think in regards to, making sure that you have friends who really care about you. Kindness is willing to tell your friend the truth, even if it's going to hurt them. Kindness is keeping them grounded in the truth instead of, being in this happy la-di-da, delusion. Where in the end, 20 years later, when they do maturize and they do, finally look back at what they have done, instead of them having regret, you can help them now by being kind and giving them the truth. No, son, you're not a mermaid, you're a boy. And then watch how he becomes a man. Indulge the mermaid and good Lord, I don't know what will happen in 20 years and does it evolve like a Pokemon or is it going to remain a mermaid forever? I don't know. The next one then is wrath and anger and cynicism and bitterness, right? All those awful things that Jordan Peterson tries to prevent growing in us so that we can be happy and at peace. The response then is patience. And this too, in Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare was trying to shake the tree for the coconuts to come out and knock us all in the head and wake us up. Wisely and slow, Friar Lawrence tells Romeo. They stumble who run fast. Be patient. All things will come to those who wait. My mother always told me, and I'll say it again, as I'm sure I've already said it, but what is given to you by your Father is easy. He clears the way. When you grow impatient and you try to force the square into a circle, like perhaps Romeo did with Juliet, maybe he was destined for Rosaline, but I'll talk about that in another episode. But if you were just patient, if you just wait it out, you feel like a hippopotamus now, but, in a month or maybe in a year, you're going to be glad that I didn't, put wooden spoons permanently into your gums and, force you into whisker therapy and, turning you into a walrus. Be patient. Everyone has to deal with youth. Everyone has to deal with puberty. Everybody has to deal with feeling awkward. It will pass. It always passes, but be patient. Don't do anything drastic. And the last one, the worst one, as you all know, pride. Well, what is the answer to that? The answer to the mother of all of those other sins? Humility. Stop being so proud about what you sleep with and who you sleep with and where you like to whatever. Have a little humility. Enjoy the fact that you get to have it, as perverted and amoral as it may be in other people's eyes. If it makes you happy, then have some humility. Live it out. Enjoy it. Don't force it on people. Don't push it in their face. Nobody else does that. Nobody else should. I mean, maybe the porn industry does, but that's a disgusting thing that needs to be addressed later also. But be humble. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about our relationships. It's about the most important relationship with us and our Father. Stop trying to showboat. Stop trying to get the microphone or bullhorn or whatever and be in the center of the limelight, because, eventually that stuff is going to fade, and what's going to be left? I'd rather hold on to my morals. I'd rather hold on to my faith and my belief and my love for all people. I may not agree with you, but I will fight into the death to defend your right. And I may not agree with you, but I don't have to live your life. That's not going to stop me from judging, though. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me this whole season. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you share it with your friends. Please smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Join me on Patreon. Become one of my Pachos Chachos. Start getting the stickers, the sweaters, the hoodies, the t-shirts and stuff. I've already gotten a couple of them. They look pretty sharp, pretty dapper, pretty snazzy. All right, I'm done with the adjectives. So anyway, have a wonderful week, guys. God bless you always. Take care.